Hi, welcome to episode 27 of the Gentle Knitter podcast. My name is Nicole and I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Ontario. Today is Sunday, February 2nd, and I'm so happy to join you today. I've missed talking to my woolly friends and gosh, it's been so long. Christmas happened and now the new year. And so I'm happy that I think, fingers crossed, that I fixed my technical issues with filming and that you're seeing and hearing this clearly. If not, leave me a comment below and I will keep working on it. Yeah, technology is not my strong point, but I think we're getting there. The image definitely from my viewfinder looks a lot better, so hopefully it looks better to you too. I wanted to start off the podcast with a slightly different topic than what I usually talk about on the podcast, and that is the conversation that has been happening in the making community, particularly on Instagram. And you might have seen many different posts about it. I posted on my Instagram account that I was going to be working through a very amazing and very informative workbook, and it's called Me and White Supremacy by Layla Saad. And it has been such an incredible learning experience for me. The whole conversation in itself has been very eye-opening. And what I'm learning is that the reason why it's eye-opening for me and for many people in the community is that we are not, or I'll speak for myself, I was not fully aware of the systemic injustices, the systemic problems in the world, not just in the making community, obviously in society in general. And many very brave and very passionate people have come out, people of color have come out to speak about their experiences in the making community. And these are very ugly experiences. Many have shared that they have been made to feel invisible. They don't feel represented, either in just in the industry in general. For instance, in knitting magazines or pattern books or yarn company publications. They have been talking about how they are excluded from different knitting events, knitting projects. They are very, very mistreated in yarn stores or at festivals. And these experiences are real. They are heartbreaking. They are completely different from the experiences that I've had in this community. And I was frankly fairly unaware, fairly ignorant of the situation. I could see, I knew that there wasn't enough diversity in the making community at large in terms of the content that I was consuming, but I really have a lot of unconscious biases, even some conscious ones I'm learning. I have biases and I have a lot of privilege because I am a white woman, and when I look at the knitting community and the content in the knitting community, I see myself reflected because I see a lot of people that look like me. And, you know, that is not right because it's not welcoming to everybody. One of the reasons why I called this the Gentle Knitter Podcast is not so much because I think I'm a gentle person or that I live a gentle life. I try to. It's important to me because as somebody who has lived pretty much all her life with some significant anxiety issues, I really strive to make the things that I love be a solace, to be a refuge. And when I named the podcast a Gentle Knitter Podcast, it was because I wanted this to be a gentle place for myself, but also for you, for the people who watch the podcast. And it really is very concerning that many people don't feel that the knitting community is a gentle, welcoming, warm place. People have been sharing that knitting is their stress relief, is the thing that allows them to express their creativity or allows them to unwind after a long day. But they also experience violence in that community. They feel exclusion. They feel like they're erased, like they don't exist, like they don't matter. And that is just not acceptable. So all that to say that I have had, and I still have, so much to learn. And I think a lot of us do. And a lot of us need to take a look at why. Why is our community exclusionary? Why is it not embracing of people of all races, all cultures, all abilities, all body size, all ages? It is very much in line with the things that marketing and just the consumer culture values, which is young, rich, white, able-bodied, cisgendered, in heterosexual relationships. That is what's valued. That is what is reflected to us, and that's from my standpoint, from my point of view, is not the world I want to live in. I truly want this to be a gentle place for everyone, and I have a lot of work to do to contribute to that, to truly make this a place where everybody belongs. And so I just wanted to say that it's really, really important to listen to people of color, listen to their experiences, believe them. It's also really important to search out educational materials so that we can start seeing through our biases, see through our privilege, and then also learn how to help. What is it that we can do to change? Because I do believe that we can change. I have to believe that, and I want to. I want to be an ally, and I want to be somebody who's contributing positively to this community. So all of that to say, it's not an easy conversation, but it's absolutely essential and crucial. And I want this to be a safe place for everybody. The last thing I wanted to say about this is that I'm really committed to make this podcast a safe and welcoming place for everyone. And so I welcome your comments, I welcome your feedback. I, however, will not be leaving up comments that deny or try to argue against the experiences of people of color, and people who are trying to argue that we do not have a racism problem in the making community, or that talking about white privilege is reverse racism, these comments, I'm sorry, are just not gonna fly here. So if that is what you were going to say, then I think you probably need to find another podcast. All right, on to the knitting. My first finished object is what I'm wearing, and I've been really excited to talk to you about it. You haven't seen it yet because it was sort of a secret project. I was contacted several months ago by the fiber company, and they make some really beautiful yarns. It's a company based in England, and actually they were some of the first kind of luxury yarn that I bought a million years ago, and I've always coveted their products. They have really beautiful things, and they have a beta knitting program. So basically they sent me the yarn, and I got to choose a garment from an upcoming pattern collection and knit it, and now I can talk to you about it. The patterns have just been released, and it's a Foundations 2019 collection. This sweater is called the V-neck cardigan, and I will insert a full photo so you can see what it looks like. The sweater is knit in Cumbria fingering, which is a blend of merino. Let's see, it's 60% merino, 30% Masham wool, and 10% mohair. The color I chose is cat bells, and it's a beautiful goldeny yellow, kind of, it's a little more of a burnt orange than what it's showing up in the screen. It's showing up a bit more yellow than it is in real life, but what a beautiful, beautiful sweater. I've been wearing it pretty much nonstop since I finished it. It's just so simple and so wearable. It's got, it is a pieced sweater, so the whole thing is knit in pieces, and so that does require some seaming, but really what it does is, because the yarn is so drapey and so fluid, the seams really add structure to the cardigan and help it to sit really nicely on the body. I think I might have been able to knit maybe one size smaller. I knit the 4th size, so it is a little bit big, but in a good way. It's cozy and it's really easy to wear. I can throw it on anything, so I don't mind that it is a little bit bigger, but the yarn was a beautiful, just a beautiful product to work with. There's a lot of nice little details. For instance, all the ribbing is done in twisted rib, and the button band is also integrated into the sweater, so that you just get this beautiful seamless look. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about it other than I've been wearing it a ton. The yarn still looks really beautiful. It's very, very soft and very warm, and it's a great kind of everyday piece. So thank you so much, Fiber Company, for including me in your beta knitting program. It was a wonderful experience, and the pattern was beautifully written, really clear, easy to follow. So I highly recommend it. In case you're wondering, the pins I'm wearing are these super sweet little illustrated houses. The pins are done by Nastia Slipstova, and the gray one you've seen before. I purchased it a while ago, and then the little rest house was actually a gift from a lovely viewer. So I just thought they look really, really sweet on my new cardigan. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is a project that was part of a KAL that myself and Sarah from the Fiber Trek podcast hosted. I talked about it in last episode, and it was the Woolwitch KAL, the Hedgewitch KAL. The Hedgewitch Shawl is a pattern by Nat Raidwolf, and we decided that we would do a KAL that would span from December full moon to the January full moon. And we had so much fun in this KAL. It was really wonderful. Tons of participation. I can't tell you, I was having a lot of difficulty keeping up with all of the amazing progress that everybody was doing in the discussion group or the discussion thread in my Ravelry group. And thank you so much to everybody. It was really wonderful, like such a supportive environment. Everybody was commenting on each other's shawls. People were posting questions that they had, and it was delightful. I really, really enjoyed it. And so, did I succeed in my own KAL? No. I finished my shawl a couple weeks after the quote-unquote deadline, and boy, was I ever glad that I had sort of set very relaxed parameters. I mean, the intention was full moon to full moon, but a lot of people who participated knew that going in that they wouldn't have time to do it all in 1 month. And I said, don't worry about it, do it in your own time, thinking, okay, but I need to have it done because this is my KAL. Well, life had a lesson for me because it just wasn't possible for me with just all sorts of things that are not important to the discussion here, but just suffice it to say that for me, this shawl the lesson was to knit with intention and to take my time and to accept the reality of how things are, and that it is okay to take care of yourself and to just go at your own pace. So but without further ado, I did finish it and I am so happy with it. This is it in all its glory. It's really, really beautiful and just so big and so warm. This yarn is absolutely heavenly. So the yarn I used is the gray is some, it's Wool Wife, which is fleece from Byberg Farms that has been put out by Starcroft Fibers. And the red is Nash Island Light, which is also a Starcroft yarn in the color Osier. And I just adore this rich kind of brick red. It's just so, I don't know, it's just perfect. It's so cozy and woolly, and the stitch pattern is so pretty. It's a very simple stitch pattern where you're passing over stitches, and it did require some mindfulness because you're actually working the stitch pattern on the wrong side of the shawl. So it ends up that your knit rows are your sort of rest rows where you're just knitting, you're doing increases, but there's not any other action, and then all the work is done on the purl side, which a lot of people commented that it was nice because usually you kind of dread the purl side, but it made the purl side more interesting. It also made it more challenging because it's harder to see what you're doing. It's harder to read your stitches on the other side because the texture is showing up a lot more clearly on the right side. But After a few false starts, I finally got into the rhythm of it, and just love working on it. So the pattern is the Hedgewitch Shawl, and it is designed by Nat Ratwolf of Wolf and Fawn Knits. And I absolutely love it. It's just been keeping me so warm and so cozy, and I highly recommend the pattern. And you know, even if you weren't able to join us for the KAL, I think go for it. If you can do it in a month, that's great. But it is just something that is very I don't know. There's just a lot of heart in this shawl. I put a lot of intention and just a lot of good feelings from the group, from the community around this KAL. Speaking of the KAL, there are prizes and associated goodies that are that Sarah and I are preparing for the KAL. We've had a few little hiccups in terms of when those things are going to come out, but we will be talking about them as soon as they're ready. And in one of the things that we're working on is doing an enamel pin based on an illustration that I drew for the KAL. So keep an eye out for that. I also got a couple of donations of patterns and yarns, so I will be drawing for prizes once everything is ready. So we'll stay tuned, and we'll talk to you more about some of the goodies that are accompanying the KAL. I have another shawl to show you. This one I had shown you while it was in progress. It's a sample that I knit for Paul from Urso Yarn Company. She contacted me a couple months before the Twist Festival in August. She needed a sample, a booth sample, and wanted something in her mouton base, which is her rustic fingering, I believe, base. And so she said I could choose the pattern and the color, and so I went for a pattern called, it's pronounced Dooney, and it is from, the designer's name is Greta Menson, and it's a really pretty, asymmetrical shawl with a garter section and then a lace section. And the yarn is really nice. It's a very rustic, fuzzy, warm, similar. It has a, I would say it's definitely got an affinity, or it's sort of related in terms of texture to Lopi. I would say softer than Lopi, but it's just really, really pretty, and Paul's dye jobs are incredible. If you are interested in non-superwash yarn but still want that sort of hand-dyed, speckly, beautiful, rich look, this is really a wonderful option for you. And I really love the shawl. Paul put on some tassels at the end, and I'm so charmed by them. I really love how they look, but also how they sort of hold the shawl in place. Oh, I think I have it inside out, but it's pretty on this side too. It's a really lovely design and beautiful yarn. Go check Urso Yarns and Paul out. She such a talented person, along with being a great designer, a great yarn dyer. She's a great designer. She's got several really beautiful sweater patterns that are very tempting to me. And she's also an illustrator, so her talent knows no bounds. She also has a really wonderful podcast that she does with her friend Emilie. If you speak French, I highly recommend you check them out on YouTube. Next finished object, I have a lot today, just because it's been so long, are these treasures. These are my Visby mittens, and the pattern is by Pia Kamaborn, you know, from the Kamabornia podcast. And these mittens are just a really beautiful, very simple pattern, traditional sort of Scandinavian mitten with a just kind of a ribbed thumb, some Latvian braid, corrugated rib, and I knit these in Letlopi, so they are incredibly warm and light and just perfect for walking the dog, for just all the crazy cold weather that we've been getting this winter. I really enjoyed working on these. They were just a fun, quick knit, and just really, I just love their traditional look, and yeah, I'm really, really happy that I knit these. So Pia, thank you for the beautiful pattern. And yeah, my lovely Visby mittens. I've got a couple of works in progress. Some which are kind of languishing. For instance, my pomme de pin cardigan, which I showed you. Oh, the camera. Hello. There we go. I showed you months ago. I think when I was last working on it, this is where I was. So I've managed to, sorry, the camera orientation is really getting me very confused here. I had kind of worked the majority of the body, but now I've got most of the tops of the sweater done. The pattern is a really pretty kind of a leaf lace pattern. Oh my god, there we go. And the yarn is Flywheel by Harrisville Tweed in the granite colorway. But I've worked on it since I last podcasted, but I have not picked it up in quite a while. I don't know. I was hoping that it would have been a Rhinebeck sweater, and yeah, that didn't happen. But it's going to get, I hope, a lot more attention in the next little while. But what I really wanted to show you was this glorious thing. It is a new project bag that Aruna, my friend Aruna from Boku, made. It is just the most beautiful project bag. It's a purse, it's a project bag, so it basically has kind of one main compartment with pockets, and it closes as a kind of a drawstring top, and then you have handles, but you also have a shoulder strap. So I actually use this really as a purse. It's so big that I can put my knitting, and I can put my wallet, my phone, etc., etc. There's tons of room in here, and it's so beautifully made. I love everything Aruna makes. This pattern is just so fun. It's actually knit stitches, and the leather, everything, the quality is just gorgeous. And thank you, Aruna, for making me this really beautiful bag. I love the color of this fabric. It's like it's a little more golden than it's showing, but I don't know if you can see. It's kind of a very tweedy linen. And this is, of course, screen printed at Aruna's shop, screen printed herself. And I have so many of her bags, and they're just so durable, so functional. And Aruna is just an incredible person. She's actually coming to visit in a couple of weeks, and I cannot wait, Aruna, to see you and Margie. It'll be wonderful to hang out. But anyway, that is just a wonderful project bag. Speaking of buku bags, here's another one. It's actually just more of a little catch-all for the house, and it's printed on some natural linen with these little crosses. And inside I have some little Christmas leftovers. This Christmas I decided that I wanted a more woodland themed Christmas tree. I've been using the same decorations for probably the last 20 years, just these IKEA straw decorations, which I really like, but they were, you know, they were more in the traditional red and white colors. So I decided to knit a bunch of little ornaments, and here's one of them. Hopefully that will focus. There we go. Just out of some Shetland wool. I also knit this little guy, who's kind of more like a shiitake mushroom. Gonna focus? Hello. Here we go. Come on. Oh. New camera. Come on. Here. I kind of embroidered little gills underneath and sort of did that kind of frilly cap to kind of look like a little shiitake. And then I did a little acorn, again with some Shetland yarn, some really pretty Shetland yarn. And a reverse stockinette stitch cap. My intention, I knit a whole whack of them, different ones. I had some little fly amanita ones, the traditional kind of white with the red and the little white dots. I had some that looked like just like regular white button mushrooms. I did all kinds of different sized acorns. I did some pine cones, and ended up giving most of them away. This is all I have left. I don't know, whenever I would like wrap up a present, it looks so cute to put a little ornament on the box or the bags, so I gave a lot of them away. But I do intend on making a lot more and perhaps writing up the pattern for them. So the first mushroom I did, I followed a pattern, but I ended up modifying it quite a bit because the yarn I was using was different, and I was kind of modifying the shape. And then the rest of the ones that I did, I totally just made up the pattern as I went. So I thought it would be fun to write up the patterns to make all different types of woodland ornaments. And I will be actually teaching the making of little woodland ornaments at Bradford Camps. So Wool Scout, which is run by Sarah of the Fiber Trek podcast. She is running 2 sessions of her Wool Scouts at Bradford Camps. It's happening in August. Dates are here. And I will be there, and I will be teaching how to make little woodland ornaments. And who knows, maybe I will put out the pattern after that. We'll see. But I just had so much fun, and really the fun part is all the little details that you add, like the embroidery. And so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being in the wilds of Maine. It looks like an incredible camp. If you follow Maria of the Ninja Chickens podcast, she was a teacher at this camp a couple of years, and she put up an amazing video last summer of last summer's camps, and ever since I saw that, I've been just dreaming of going. So I feel incredibly lucky that I will get to be part of the team at Bradford Camps this summer, to be a Wool Scout along with Sarah, and I think and Mary Jane Mucklestone, who's teaching, and Janny from Starcroft will be there too, doing some workshops. So, and Sarah, of course. So anyway, I'm super excited. We'll talk about it some more as the date approaches. I'm not sure if there are any spots left. I know that Sarah had posted on her Instagram not that long ago that there were a few places left. So get in touch with Sarah if you're interested, and hopefully we'll see you there. So I cast on not too long ago on a new pair of socks, and I have one finished. This is it. It's the beautiful, beautiful pattern called Pebbles and Pathways. It's by Marceline Smith. You know her as Mars. She has the Hey Brownberry podcast. And if you don't know her podcast, definitely check it out. She's just such a beautiful knitter, and she dyes her own wool, and she's an incredibly thoughtful and just lovely spirit. So I recommend you check her out. This design, the proceeds to the pattern are going towards, I believe it's her niece. It's a fundraiser for her gymnastics endeavors, so it's a wonderful wonderful cause, and the pattern is just so pretty. It's a sock with a garter top and a lovely cable running along the on the sides. And what was really cool about this pattern is that it is a toe-up sock, which I never do. I'm always just going traditional cuff down. And at first, when I saw that it was a toe up, I thought, oh, should I just modify it? And I was like, no, let's just go for it. I had knit a toe up sock once before, like a million years ago. And I remember it's just finding it really tricky, but the instructions in Marce's pattern are just impeccable, and there's a lot of little design tips in it in terms of modifying it to fit you, and I really love it. I will say that I don't know that a toe-up heel fits me quite as well as my my cuff down heel flap. I know there are different types of heels, so I might experiment and see what other heels there are, like the Fish Lips Kiss heel and German short row heel. But I mean, it fits fine. It's just, I feel it's a little baggy in the back here. It's possible that it's also just because the yarn I used is slightly thicker than the recommended yarn. This is Tuku wool, their sock wool, which is a sport weight. And so I ended up sizing down the pattern. I cast on, I believe I had 60 stitches instead of 64, but still it is a little bit big. However, it's a non-superwash yarn, so even if they felt a tiny little bit, it will be fine, because these are a little bit roomy, not too much. I might end up enjoying these particularly at home. But I just think they're so pretty. I just love the texture, and I loved working with this yarn. It's just really woolly and squishy, and I know that some people recommend getting 3 skeins to do a pair of socks. Certainly the leg isn't quite as long as I would usually knit. I really knit to pretty much the end of my first skein, and oftentimes I like my my leg to be a bit longer, but I only had 2 skeins, so these are great. I will enjoy wearing them, even if they're a little bit shorter than what I'm used to. But anyway, I highly recommend the pattern, and yay Mars! Last thing I wanted to talk about is a work in progress, and it is actually a sample. Now I know that I'd been doing a lot of sample work the last few years, and I took a bit of a break. But I was contacted by Elizabeth Doherty, my friend Elizabeth, and she asked if I was interested and available to knit a sample for her. And I really love Elizabeth's designs, and when I saw this design, I really couldn't resist. It is a cardigan that is, I'm not going to show you the photo or the illustration. It's a pattern that's still being worked on, and I think that Elizabeth mentioned that she had modified the shaping a little bit, so I don't want to show you something that is going to be changed, but it's a very simple cardigan that that has a slightly dropped shoulder, and it's got a really cool construction that reminds me a lot of the Woodford's cardigan, which is a design that I knit, a design of hers that I knit a while back. And it starts in a similar way, where you're starting with the back of the neck and you're doing some short rows, and then there'll be some picking up of stitches. The thing about Elizabeth is that her patterns are incredibly well written, and they have really interesting constructions that sometimes are surprising, and when you start reading the pattern you might wonder where you're going, but honestly with Elizabeth you just go. You just follow the instructions. She gives you all the tools in order to make the sweater fit you, and she will hold your hand throughout the whole process. This one is no different. It does start at the back and you're doing short rows. The middle here has a row of slip stitches, oops, to delineate. I'm really not good at this new camera orientation, but oh my god, here, no, there. So it's got a row of slip stitches, so you'll have a really nice seam going down the back. And the yarn that I'm using, or the yarn that Elizabeth has designed the sweater for, is Shibui, and it's a combination of two yarns. And I'm really thrilled to be able to work with Shibui yarns because their stuff is gorgeous. So it's a combination of twig and reed, and they're both in kind of these gray blues. This one is a lot bluer than this one, but this one is 100% linen, and then this one is 46 linen, 42 silk, recycled silk, and 12% wool. And you hold them together and it just creates a really stunning fabric that is kind of marled. Come on, focus. And just highly textural. The swatch that I made when I washed it and I threw it in the dryer, as it's kind of a good idea to do that with a linen fabric, it just became super soft and supple, and I'm very excited to work on this sample. And as it grows, Elizabeth told me that I could share it with you, so I will be showing you sort of how this thing is coming together, because as I said, it's always very interesting to see how Elizabeth puts her patterns together. I have to say, the Woodfords I knit, it was probably my favorite knit that I've ever done, just because it was just really interesting. It was I don't want to say challenging, because it wasn't difficult, but just unexpected, and when it all came together, it was just so thought out. She's just really a whiz. She's just a genius when it comes to designing. So anyway, here is my beautiful sample for Elizabeth. If you've noticed my little stitch marker, this is, speaking of woodland things, it's a little glass mushroom, and I got this from an Etsy seller. I will put the link below, or the name, because I don't remember. This woman in Russia, and I saw these on Amy Beth's podcast, The Fat Squirrel Speaks. She's a a very dangerous enabler. Amy Beth, you're a very, very dangerous person to know and love. Anyway, she had bought a bunch of these, and they don't come as stitch markers, they come as little charms. So it's a little glass mushroom with just a little hook. And so I just bought some jump rings and made them into stitch markers. I don't have the other ones with me, but they're all different. You can order all different types of mushrooms, and they're really charming, and I can't stand how cute they are. Anyway, on that note, I think that is it for me today. I have talked a lot, and it's time for me to take a break, have some of my cold tea now. This lovely chai that I made myself. The cup is a beautiful, beautiful cup. That was a gift from Kate from the Hawthorne Cottage Craft. She's a lovely podcaster and maker, and she was visiting around Rhinebeck time. She visited here in Ottawa and brought me this beautiful cup. Just a Irish potter. I always forget the name. It's Nicholas Moss, and it's in the rose pattern, and it's one of my favorite cups. Because it's from one of my favorite people. Anyway, I think that is it for me. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye!